This is a universal Barnhart 5/6. This is the handle, this is the terminal end, terminal shank, and this is the working end. For this instrument, on each end, there is a toe and there are two blades. So the angle between the blade and the terminal shank is 90 degrees. That means when we use this instrument, we do the close, insert, and open. We have to tip away from the toothed surface a bit to create the perfect angle to remove the calculus. That will be the contraindication for this instrument also. So for this instrument, it works subgingivally, and like the name is universal, so we can use it for all the teeth, for the upper and the lower arch. Now for the upper, for anterior or the lower anteriors, to determine the right working end, we can do the bump to the tooth. Right now the bump is on the buccal surface of tooth number 8, and the working end is pointing the away surfaces. That means we're gonna work on the away surfaces for the anterior from canine to canine. And then same way we can figure out the way for the lingual. And then we will move to the 8 or 4 o'clock to figure out the bump and tooth method to figure out the right working end. Okay, so for the anterior, we do the close, insert, and open. So when we open, we open like about 20 to 30 degrees. So we create the 60 to 80 degree angle, the perfect angle for the activation. So we move from the midline all the way to the interproximal area. The whole time when we work on the anterior, we make sure the handle is parallel to the long axis of the tooth. And for the posterior, when we decide the right working end, let's see. We put the terminal end or the blade in the interproximal area, and we make sure the terminal end is parallel to the long axis of the tooth. At the same time, the V is to the D. That's when we are finding the right working end. So this is right, and we use the other end, we will see that the terminal shank is hugging the tooth. This will be the wrong working end. And the same for the posterior, we're gonna start. It's not the same, we're gonna start from the distal angle. We do the same, close, insert, and open. We open like 20 to 30 degrees, and then we work to the interproximal area. When you get to the interproximal area, you do the up and down stroke to remove the calculus. Make sure the terminal end is turned slightly toward the long axis of the tooth. And then we go back to the distal angle. We do the close, insert, and open. Small stroke, we work all the way to the interproximal area on the mesial. And then we do the same for the lingual surface, from the distal angle to the interproximal area, and then back from the distal angle to the mesial. The same for when we are at the interproximal area, when we do the up and down stroke to remove the calculus, we'll make sure the terminal shank is parallel to the long axis of the tooth and slightly toward the tooth. So this is for the universal curette.
This is Gracie 1-2. I'm going to work on the anterior. Close, insert, open. Make sure the working angle.
These are Gracie instruments. This one is Gracie 1-2. For the Gracies, there on each end there is a toe also, but there is only one blade. So one blade on each end. The angles between the face of the blade and the terminal shank is 70 degrees. This will give the advantage to the Gracie instruments because when we do the close, insert, and open, there is a 30 degree there already to the surface of the tooth, so we don't have to open that much. That will be the advantage of Gracie's. The contraindication will be for all the Gracie instruments. They are area specific, so Gracie 1-2, they only work for the anteriors. And Gracie 11-12, they will be working on the posteriors from the distal angle to the mesial. And Gracie 13-14, they only work for the posteriors from distal angle to the distal interproximal area. For the Gracie 1-2, we can figure out the right working end by put instrument on the buccal surface, and the lower blade will be the right blade for the anteriors. So it will be the same as universal from K9 to K9. We work on the away surfaces first or the toward surfaces first. It's up to what kind of clock position you're in or which order you want to work first. But the lowest blade will be the right working blade or the right working end. And for posterior, for the 11-12 or the 13-14 is similar. When you put the terminal end, the terminal shank in the interproximal area, it follows the V to the D rule also, and the terminal shank is parallel to the long axis of the tooth. And then when we work in the posterior, of course, when we have the 13-14, we work from the distal angle to the distal interproximal area. When we have the 11-12, we will start from the distal angle and we go all the way to the interproximal area on the mesial.
This is Gracie 1-2. I'm going to work on the anterior. Close, insert, open. Make sure the working angle. Now I'm working on the Gracie 13-14. Close, insert, open. Sure, get you into the interproximal area first.